Welcome to Cafeína Catracha podcast, produced by IWCA Honduras. We delve into a wide range of coffee-related topics, from the cultural significance of this beloved beverage to the intricacies of coffee farming, processing, policies, and market trends. Also feature exciting segments on coffee-related news and events. We believe that coffee is more than just a drink. It's a culture. So whether you're a coffee lover, a coffee producer, a professional in the industry, Cafeína Catracha podcast is for you. Tune into our podcast and let us take you into a journey to explore the fascinating world of coffee like never before.
Welcome back to our second season of Cafeína Catracha podcast, the podcast that explores the whole world of coffee, and we love about knowing everything about the coffee. We're going to be your hosts. My name is Orieta Alvarenga, and I am Carla Calidonio. During this second season, we will take you in a journey where we explore the stories and insights of experts and coffee professionals who have made their mark into the industry. With a weekly schedule, we will take you on a journey to discover the fascinating nuances and the complexities of coffee like never before. You're right, Carla. Here we are all passionate about the coffee industry, from the history to the cultural significance and the intricate details of the coffee production until the market reach. So, sit down, grab your cup of joy, and enjoy this episode with us. And also, Orieta Lucia, we have some interviews. You're right, Carla. In this episode, we're going to talk about the crossover from Spanish to the English language and the other strategies we have to reach new markets. With us, we have Liliana Sanchez from Café Inclusivo, Catherine Note from Su Cafina. And also we have important remarks from Denny Regalado, Rachel Peterson, and Mark Inman.
As we prepare to kick off this episode, we'd like to extend a special thanks to our sponsors. Cafeína Catracha podcast is brought to you by IWCA Honduras and is sponsored by Café Inclusivo Swiss Contact. In partnership with Let's Talk Coffee, Sustainable Harvest, PRF San Salvador, Mallorca Coffee, and eCafé.
We are here in Copan Ruinas in the set of Let's Talk Coffee 2023. And it's a great pleasure to introduce you to Liliana Sanchez, which is the country director of Swiss Contact. And Liliana, we are very happy to be here in this set of Let's Talk Coffee, a great opportunity for Honduras to show the world these amazing coffees.
So happy, Carla, to be in your company. And after almost a year has passed since the idea of organizing Let's Talk Coffee in Honduras, we are so excited to be hosting so many visitors from places so far away as Korea, Singapore, Australia, and even members of our own coffee community that have come to Copan Ruinas for 3 days of talking about the challenges and the opportunities of coffee.
And talking about opportunities, as women, you know, we have this huge challenge as well to tell the market about amazing coffees from women. And we are here again in the set of Cafeína Catracha, but now speaking in English. Tell us about that transition from Spanish to English.
Yes, we are very excited at Swiss Contact Honduras to be a part of the project Cafeína Catracha and also to work closely with our member and partner AMU Café, the Alianza de Mujeres en Café, the IWCA Honduras chapter, in our Inclusive Coffee project. Inclusive Coffee wants to develop the commercial capacities in the coffee sector in Honduras. And we have a very strong focus in working in developing these capacities in the women that are working in coffee sector in Honduras. In this sense, after watching and listening to the very successful and interesting first season of Cafeína Catracha, which means Honduran caffeine. It's the way of saying it's our dose of Honduran caffeine. We talked about the opportunity of then, crossing over and bringing this very interesting podcast and conversation to a broader audience that speaks English. And this is well aligned with our project, which seeks to connect and to create better possibilities and opportunities for inclusive and sustainable coffee producers, especially women, to connect with market actors and players such as green coffee importers or buyers that are seeking to identify suppliers of sustainable and inclusive coffees.
And talking about challenges, Liliana, we have seen these opportunities, of course, huge opportunities, but we also have to listen sometimes to the challenges in the market. Since your perspective, what are these challenges right now that women have to overcome in your work? What have you seen in our country that we as women have to face and to go over in the market? What would you say?
Well, first of all, I must say that I have huge respect to the work of women in coffee all over the world. But of course, I have a very strong respect and a strong connection to the women that are working in coffee in Honduras. And I would like to recognize the work of women in coffee in Honduras, not only at the farms and at the production level, but at every part of the value chain of coffee, from cuppers and tasters and specialists in quality to the specialists that are also working in the export process, to the merchants and traders that are also trying to connect to the markets. Definitely, we as women are facing different kinds of challenges. One of that very important challenge is the fact that we have to balance very different areas of our lives and demands of our lives. Part of that has to do with the work at home. As women, we are still the main caregivers of our home. And this will most of the time take a lot of the time of our day to make sure that our families are well taken care of. But then we also want to go out and do different jobs. With Café Inclusivo, with inclusive coffees, what we are trying to present is the tools and the information so that women in coffee in Honduras will have the capacity and the knowledge and the experience to be taken into account when opportunities at export companies come along. We want to see more women leading export companies. We want to see more women leading trading operations in Honduras. We would love to also see more women leaders of the producer guilds and representatives of the producer organizations. We are very happy to see all that Café, the IWC in Honduras has accomplished. But we know that there are so many capable women that can also start to occupy spaces at these broader producer groups. And part of the challenge is also communicating and letting other people know everything that we are doing in the country and that the women groups are doing. And so this idea of crossing over into English has this objective to share with a broader audience in the markets where Honduran coffee is being enjoyed, to share more information on what is happening in the women groups that are producing these coffees. And one of the remarks we often get from buyers and roasters is that it's sometimes hard to get information on the coffees and to get information on the producers. So if we can, through a tool like this very interesting podcast, Cafeína Catracha, bring this information out, I think we are doing a great service to the coffee community and especially to women in coffee.
So, it's, let's say that if we have these challenges, but we have the tools to overcome those challenges. That's why I was asking that question. Yes, we do have challenge, as you say, many things that we have to do as women, but there are tools and there are organizations that we as women can reach out, to overcome those challenges. Speaking in English, of course, was one of them. Trying to, think in English and trying to do the right questions, and of course having the right answers to our audience. But they can, I think that this opportunity is to connect
Exactly.
the market from abroad Honduras to our producers. So that was a great idea, a challenging one, by the way. But I think that the objective, was to do that connection, and I think that we finally did it. And there is another thing that I would like to talk, Liliana, is the next generation. What happened with the daughters and with the son of the coffee producing women. What is the market and the future for this new generation? What do you think about the aspects of these new generations?
I think that just as you mentioned a while back, we can look at a challenge from the other side and see it as an opportunity. Definitely, we need to try to engage a younger population to remain in coffee and to remain being passionate about coffee. And this has also a very important call for women and girls in coffee. And the very important and interesting thing is that the opportunity is not only in coffee production, but also in innovation, in science. There's so much opportunities, for example, in coffee related to science, to chemistry, to biology, to engineering with the different machines that are being developed, the processes of sales, of marketing, of reaching new markets, of becoming innovative in the different processes. I think we need to try and connect, and this is actually, in my opinion, is probably the way that the coffee sector will be transformed to a different level and to a different type of business that we can perhaps not even imagine, because we see a younger generation that is full of energy, that is full of new ideas. Definitely what we need to do is to open these communication channels to try and talk to younger people, to see perhaps why in some cases they are not so excited about coffee anymore. I think the other very important thing that we could do is try to connect with the younger people related to coffee in the markets. Mm-hmm. To try and have a conversation that is going two ways, from the producer and origin side to also the consumer side and the market side. Because I think that even as we in the production side are facing different challenges with engaging a new generation, I believe that also it may be happening in the other markets. So definitely there is an opportunity for a lot of communication. At Swiss Contact, we like to say that our mission is to create opportunities, mm-hmm. and we want to continue working, creating opportunities. On the one side, to become more skilled and to have more knowledge and access to information that may better prepare us for the markets. This is what we have been trying to do with Café Inclusivo, with our work with the IWCA Honduras chapter, where we are bringing specific trainings on export promotion, on marketing, and how to manage your social media, and how to engage in the trade show participations. So I think perhaps the next step might be to generate more spaces like this, mm-hmm. podcast, but also like this event where we are today talking about coffee, where we can also call young people, and especially girls and young women.
And for those that are listening to this podcast, Liliana, that are in the consumer market, how they can connect to the producers through the program, through Café Inclusivo program.
Yeah, so definitely there are many ways that we can connect. One of them, I would invite you to visit our website, swisscontact.org, and you can look for the country Honduras, and there you will find all the information about inclusive coffees, and you will be able to get into a platform where you will find the different 44 companies and co-ops that we are working with, but also through the IWCA, which is one of our main project partners in Honduras. Through the webpage of the IWCA in Honduras, you will be able to also access information on women-produced coffee in the country. And definitely, please watch out and look for us. Look for our Café de Honduras, a trade show at the different trade shows that will be coming up this year. We will be at the Portland, the Coffee Expo, also at the World of Coffee in Greece. We will be at the Café Show in Seoul. And I would really also like to highly recommend that you subscribe to this a very important podcast, Cafeína Catracha. I think you will find very interesting information, a lot of new ideas and new information about what is happening in the coffee sector, and especially what women are doing in coffee in Honduras. So please subscribe to the podcast Cafeína Catracha.
And also they will find, these amazing coffees that are grown in these 6 coffee regions that we have. As we say, and we have it right here, it's a rainbow of opportunities. Literally, it's a rainbow of opportunities. So thank you so much, Liliana, for this wonderful interview. And for those that are there in the market, you know the way now to connect to these women through Inclusive Coffee, through Women in Coffee in Honduras. So thank you so much.
Thank
Liliana.
you, Carla. Thank you, Carla.
We are here in Copan Ruinas. This is the set for Let's Talk Coffee. And I'm very honored to tell you about the new Managing Director of Sustainable Harvest, Mrs. Kat Nolte. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. For me, in my journey, I started as a barista in a cafe, and I come from Wisconsin, which is in middle America. So, not one of the big fancy cities or anything like that. My dad built wooden church organ pipes, and my mom played the organ, and it was a big family of 5. And so growing up and, in our cultural context, it was a very humble start. And I remember when I was 19 years old, I was studying philosophy and music, and I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do with these things. So I became a barista, and that was my job opportunity. And I remember just falling in love with it. It was a humble job, but it was something I was passionate about. And so for me, that turned into an opportunity to become a shift supervisor, a cafe manager. At a certain point, I just started reading so much about coffee and the supply chain. And I went back to business school and earned my degree in accounting. And a lot of these things were, just getting passionate about what I was doing in the moment and then creating the next opportunity out of that. After my accounting degree, and because of coffee and all the, developing countries that are, included in the coffee supply chain, I decided to join the Peace Corps. And so I moved to rural West Africa and lived in a village for 2 years with subsistence farmers. So really living amongst people who were growing food and they were doing sesame for a cash crop. And so I really wanted to get a different way of life that was completely different from my own. For me, this was eye-opening, and also, somehow, growing my own worldview to include other perspectives into my own worldview. And it was an amazing experience. And I came back to the US with those 2 years in rural Africa, and then also an accounting degree. And I became a financial controller of a specialty coffee importer. And for me, I think that move was one of the, big breaks in my career, where it was like, I'm entering, into a different, sort of level here of professionalism. And it was an amazing opportunity, a very supportive company. And, shortly after that, I saw a job description of, it was an NGO that was based in London and East Africa, and it was working with smallholder coffee cooperatives on business basics, on gender inclusion, on environmental climate change adaptation. And so it had a real sustainability USP. And I moved into that company to learn more about the supply chain and to continue growing with that passion for, working with smallholder supply chains and subsistence farmers. That was an amazing time in my career, and I learned so much. And coming out of that, I really wanted to get back into the private sector. Just because I think with sustainability, the private sector has more power. And I think we're going to talk about commercialization of some of the sustainability initiatives or the inclusion initiatives that women's groups can have. And in that role, I spent 5 years, and I was mostly working on market access for these smallholder organizations who were doing projects and all sorts of different facets of the sustainability promise. And after that, I got back into the private sector, joining a company called Cafeína. And this was like the next big breakthrough in my career, where Cafeína is a global coffee company. And so they operate all over the world. And then they also have world-class financial expertise, which is something that, I really wanted access to, that sort of mentorship. And it was something I didn't know. And I wanted to, dig in and learn more about and surround myself with smart people and good mentors with really good information. And I've been doing that for the last 6 years under the Cafeína umbrella. And it's been an amazing journey, just looking at and seeing how the entire supply chain operates, from commercial, just like the seconds and, stuff like that, or stock lots and things like that, all the way up to the most valuable micro lots in the world. And so getting that broad perspective has been amazing. Having the, amazing mentorship on the financial side has been really great. And then when the sustainable harvest opportunity came along, we partnered because Sustainable Harvest was a wonderful business with incredible values, and
they match.
And they
well.
match. They match to Cafeína's values spot on, because Cafeína is a company that values traceability, transparency, and sustainability, and is working in that space of trying to make coffee a real farm to roaster value proposition, and do that at scale. And so what Sustainable Harvest provides is actually a smaller subset of coffee, where we can really work on premiumization and making, premium products really sing. But we can also take what we learn as Sustainable Harvest and apply it on the Cafeína side. And then we can also take things on the Cafeína side, and in particular, the business and the financial expertise, and we can apply it on the Sustainable Harvest side. So the idea is true partnership.
And what we have learned from your experience, Kat, listening to your great journey in your life with starting as a barista, and from our audience, is that you can grow your way up. You can learn, the necessary skills in each job. So for us as an alliance of women, that we have not only producers, but we do have also baristas. We have also traders. We have exporters. What is important, I think, is to make sure that you learn and you become almost an expert in that job, no matter what it is. So you will be like the best barista, the best producer, the best exporter. And I think what you mentioned, along the way, is that you have also to take the opportunities in the right moment. And what will be, Kat, your advice to these organizations of women that are trying to reach out the market from that perspective, from producer to roaster?
I mean, I think it can be summed up in one word, which is curiosity. Like, go on a quest for information and surround yourself with the best information that you can. And so, I think a curiosity, even as Cafeína, as we go out and we say, how are we going to market our coffee? Because we ask ourselves the same question. What we always try and do is to go out and talk to the roasters and understand what the roasters need and understand what they want, because they're our end client. And so for me, I would say that if you're an organization trying to commercialize your product, really knowing your market, no matter where that is the most important thing. So if you're working with a local exporter, for example, ask questions. Try to understand the business, try to understand what they're doing, understand what they need from you, and that will help you graduate into the next level. Absolutely. And so no matter, I think that you summed it up really beautifully, but I would say that no matter where you're at, embrace it and give it your whole passion. And I think that, this is something that's been important to even my whole team's success on the specialty side, because when we started in specialty as Cafeína in the US in 2016, we were doing not even one bag of specialty. And today we're the third largest specialty importer in the USA. And now with Sustainable Harvest, we're very strong, like very, very strong. And so to me, it wasn't about saying like, we want to be the biggest or we want to, be the best or anything like that. We were asked, not the biggest, but rather the best is what I'm trying to say. So we didn't say we want to be the biggest. We said we want to be the best. We want to do the best job for our customer. And if you're always asking yourself that question with the end user in mind or the person you're trying to, serve with your product, if you keep that in mind, I think success will come.
And I think, that is fantastic. I think that we have learned a lot, from this conversation to be curious about the environment, about the business, to be empathetic, which we are naturally empathetic, and not to be afraid to over communicate. And what you say, not to be embarrassed because we don't know everything and we have to learn as well. So Catherine, thank you so much for this interview. It's been really great. Congratulations to your new appointment. And since we are an alliance of women over the world, I think that you will also have a support from us, to be there for you. So
and I need your support.
Thank you.
So thank you for it.
Thank you for the interview. And we will see you around. We will have more interviews like this, and we will see you in the next chapter. Thank you so much. Estamos en Copan Ruinas en el marco del evento Let's Talk Coffee 2023 y estamos haciendo entrevistas con gente que ha marcado la diferencia y ha hecho historia también en el camino y en este proceso. Y seguramente ustedes han escuchado acerca del famoso geisha panameño y el milagro o este producto insigne de Panamá. Quiero presentarles a una productora de café quien nos va a contar su historia acerca de cómo colocar este producto en el mercado y qué ha aprendido. Rachel, ¿nos cuentas, por favor, tu historia, tu empresa y tu hacienda?
Como bien dijiste, mi nombre es Rachel Peterson o Raquel Peterson, me llaman también, de Hacienda La Esmeralda en Panamá. Una finca que es mitad lechería y mitad café, pero conocida mayormente por el descubrimiento de la variedad geisha. Es una empresa familiar, trabajo junto con mi padre y mis hermanos. Y mi posición dentro de la compañía es ventas, mercadeo y control de calidad. En el año, a finales del año 90, de los 90, compramos una finca de café en la región de Boquete que estaba abandonada. Y en la parte baja de esa finca habían muchos árboles de café. Mi papá es biólogo, es científico. Él miró las diferentes plantas y estábamos un año con muchos problemas de lluvia, muchos problemas de ojo de gallo, o sea, una enfermedad del café. Y él escogió entre aquellas plantas las que tenían menor daño, más hojas sanas. Hizo un vivero, lo plantamos toda una loma en esa variedad. 4 años más tarde descubrimos que tiene un sabor completamente diferente al resto del café que producíamos en la otra finca de café que teníamos. Mi hermano Daniel en ese momento era el que estaba catando, lo somete al Best of Panama, que es un evento como la tasa de excelencia, pero el que hacemos en Panamá se llama Best of Panama, y gana, pero por muchísimo, en el 2004. Ganamos con 95.6 puntos. Y luego ese café, pues los jueces internacionales que estuvieron ahí hablaron mucho del café porque era tan diferente. Se fue a subasta y en el año 2004 rompió récord con un precio de $21 la libra, que hoy por hoy sabemos que no es ningún récord, pero en el 2004 fue un récord muy grande.
Raquel, para aquellas productoras, por ejemplo, que tienen su café, quizás no al nivel del geisha de Panamá, pero todavía están tratando de saber ¿cuál es ese cliente? Con lo que me has contado, primero fuiste a buscar a las personas que conocían, que te podían dar una respuesta, te educaste, trataste de averiguar más. ¿Cuál sería como tu consejo
Y mira, te
para
voy a decir
esas
muy al
productoras?
principio, ahora ya yo soy una persona conocida, tengo 20 años de estar haciendo esto, pero muy al principio, mucho rechazo. Y es difícil, tienes que seguir tocando puertas, tienes que seguir buscando nuevos correos, nuevos nombres, escribir, buscar personas que están interesadas, o sea, muchos tostadores de café realmente no pueden hacer la conexión directamente con el productor y es cosa de hacer ese contacto directo, buscar a alguien con que tú puedas tener un contacto directo y ellos siempre van a seguir volviendo a ti porque ellos también agradecen eso. Ellos están buscando ese contacto igual que lo buscamos nosotros. Así, mi consejo es no se rindan, sigan tratando, sigan tocando las puertas. Creo que el consejo número 2 que yo daría, o tal vez sería el primero, es el inglés es el idioma internacional del café, porque mis clientes están, como te digo, en China, en Corea, en Japón. Yo no hablo ninguno de esos idiomas. Nuestra única manera de comunicarnos es en inglés. Y yo creo que para una generación joven que está empezando en esto, aprendan inglés. Con el inglés pueden llegar mucho más lejos. Yo veo alrededor mío productores, incluso en Panamá, que no aprendieron inglés, son los que más difíciles hay. Todo el que habla inglés tiene la capacidad de salir, de hablar, de decir, hey, yo tengo esto, ¿quieres esto? Aquí están las muestras y te puedo hablar de esto. Estos son los atributos que hay en la taza. Así que esos serían los consejos principales. O sea, no se rindan, no dejen que porque muchísimas personas te digan que no, tú piensas que no, tú sigue, porque va a haber alguien que eventualmente te va a decir sí.
Y eso es parte de confiar en el producto también.
También. Y tú tienes que creer,
y
tú tienes que creer en lo que estás vendiendo. A ti te tiene que gustar tu café y tú tienes que saber qué es lo que te gusta de tu café, porque cuando tú lo sabes y te encanta y se lo digas a esa otra persona también le va a encantar.
Y es parte de es tener la seguridad del producto. Quizá, no sé, Rachel, en ese momento en que surge ese rechazo, no sé si te cuestionaste alguna vez de estoy haciendo lo correcto o para dónde voy o qué sigo.
Muchas veces me costó mucho y o sea,
¿Qué hago
tenía,
ahora?
por ejemplo, ofertas allá afuera de contenedores, ¿no? Y entonces estaba esperando la respuesta, no. O sea, eso es duro, es muy difícil porque entonces, ¿qué haces con ese café? Y tienes que venderlo muy barato y tenías la esperanza de X precio. Pero te digo que con el tiempo, mientras sigue insistiendo, sigue tratando. Las mujeres, a veces las cosas son un poco más difíciles para nosotros, pero por ese lado yo creo que las mujeres también entendemos que muchas veces tenemos que dar un paso extra y seguir hasta que nos digan que sí. Porque no nos los van a regalar. Y nadie va a venir a decir, oye, ¿tú vendes café? No. Tú tienes que ir allá y decir, esto es lo que tengo para ti. ¿Te gusta? ¿No te gusta? Espero que te encante. A mí me encanta esto. Por ejemplo, yo tenía mayormente en esos momentos, yo tenía café y tenía muy poquito de ella, entonces notas a chocolate. Y yo lo vendí. A mí me encantaba igual el café que yo estaba vendiendo, así que yo le daba todos los descriptores de café, les hablaba sobre la finca, los animales que hay en la finca, cómo protegemos. Todas esas historias que hay alrededor del café que estamos produciendo son importantes para los clientes finales y te ayudan a vender. Son otra herramienta de mercadeo.
Y en cuanto al branding, en cuanto a esa marca, ¿cuál fue tu experiencia y también cuál sería tu consejo hacia estas productoras? ¿Cómo encontrar, así como encontraron ustedes, ese elemento de lujo? ¿Sería a través del conocimiento del producto? ¿Cómo llegaron a eso ustedes?
Es difícil para mí, o sea, porque en esto sí tengo que decir que el café geisha pues tiene atributos en la taza que son muy diferentes al resto del café que conocemos normalmente en cualquier país centroamericano. Cuando yo empecé en café, un buen café de Panamá podía tener 83, 84 puntos y eso era lo que yo vendía y eso es decente y bien, o sea, es un producto bueno, especial. Pero el café geisha pues sí tiene otros atributos que son completamente diferentes. Yo sé que hay productores que están haciendo muchos experimentos con procesos y los procesos también me parece que si encuentras algo único y original, eso también te va a servir para mercadear, para vender, para ofrecer como algo único. Pero más que nada también hay consistencia. Tienes que siempre ser consistente. El café que envía si enviaste una muestra, eso tiene que ser exactamente lo que tú estás enviando en el contenedor. No es que agarré de este saco y no, mezclarlo todo, coge muestras, porque digamos que la ética del productor o la confianza de un comprador te la tienes que ganar. Y te la ganas siempre siendo consistente con lo que le ofreces, diciéndole la verdad de lo que le estás ofreciendo, de lo que tienes, y creando una relación que a la larga es buena porque ellos confían en ti, ellos confían en tu palabra. Ahora mismo, ya después de 20 años, pues yo le puedo decir a un comprador, tengo este café, sabe a XYZ, y ellos me pueden decir, pues mándamelo, no tengo que comprarlo. A mí no me gusta hacerlo así, yo prefiero muchas veces que ellos lo prueben, tomen sus propias decisiones, pero ellos ya saben que yo no les voy a mentir, que lo que les estoy diciendo es exactamente lo que van a encontrar en esa taza.
Y eso es parte también de, de conocer el mercado, porque en el mercado japonés y el coreano hay mucha lealtad y quizás sí, en un principio cuesta ganarse esa confianza de estos mercados, pero sí la consistencia y sobre todo ser transparente.
Transparente, sí.
En lo que se va a mercadear.
Exacto. Ya después que hay alguna duda de parte de ellos, lo he visto en otras personas a mi alrededor, cuando se crea esa duda ya tienes un problema serio. Entonces,
porque cuesta recuperar
te va a costar
la
bastante.
confianza.
Y ellos hablan entre ellos también, entonces es importante siempre ser bien claro con lo que estás dando, con lo que tienes para ofrecer, con el precio, con todo.
Pues se ha mencionado también en el evento qué va a suceder con los siguientes productores o con la siguiente generación de productores, que ha sido como un elemento transversal en todo Centroamérica. ¿Cuál es la situación en Panamá acerca de eso?
En Panamá, como bien sabes, pues con el geisha hay dinero dentro, o sea, el café ya genera, o sea que todas las nuevas generaciones están volviendo porque saben que pueden vivir de eso en Panamá. Pero el resto del mundo, pues yo diría, es seguirlo trabajando, como te digo, aprender inglés, porque si no, no te puedes comunicar con este mercado y tú tienes que tratar, y yo no estoy diciendo cortar intermediarios como exportadores, pero tratar de que sea lo más directo que tú puedas con ese comprador final, porque con él o con ella es tu relación.
Muy bien, pues gracias.
Gracias,
Raquel. Ha sido realmente una entrevista donde hemos aprendido muchísimo. Creo que tenemos esos elementos clave y bueno, les seguiremos llevando entrevistas como estas y nos vemos en un próximo capítulo. Muchas gracias, Richard.
Gracias.
Un verdadero placer presentarles a Delmi Regalado, quien es un ícono de trabajo, Delmi, de superación, de éxitos alcanzados, pero pues detrás de todo esto que he mencionado hay un largo camino. Voy a dejar Delmi primero que se presente, que nos diga quién es, en dónde trabaja y luego cómo llegó a la alianza. Bienvenida.
Muchas gracias, el placer es mío estar hoy acá. Como ya Carla lo dijo, pues soy Delmi Regalado y la verdad que me conocen bastante por Café LOL, ¿verdad? Fue la cooperativa con la que yo empecé a trabajar y fue una gran escuela para mí y ahí me siguen teniendo como Delmi Café LOL, ese es mi apellido. Y pues yo inicié en la parte de las finanzas, así fue donde me desarrollé. Es mi trabajo, esa es mi profesión, soy contadora de profesión. Y dentro de ese rubro, pues descubrí lo que realmente era mi pasión. Siempre hay algo que es un trabajo que a uno le ha tocado hacer, o es lo que uno estudió, y hay otra cosa que es lo que uno haría, aunque así no le pagaran.
Y un tema también importante, Delmi, que también lo conversábamos, es la preparación del inglés, que no es la norma que lo hablemos en general en Honduras, pero en todas las entrevistas que hemos hecho, estando aquí en el evento, ese es como un requisito fundamental. Y en el caso suyo, sé que se ha esforzado también por hablarlo, por conectarse en ese idioma con sus compradores.
Sí, fíjese que yo realmente yo estuve en Estados Unidos, pero no estuve estudiando. Entonces para mí es bien difícil porque el inglés que yo hablo, pues no es un inglés formal, ¿verdad? No tengo gramática y a mí me daba pena. Entonces vencer ese miedo de la pena creo que es lo más difícil para cualquier cosa, ya sea para aprender un idioma, para hablarle a un comprador, para hablar en público, ¿verdad? Eso es como nuestra limitante más grande y que no creemos en nosotros mismos, pensamos que no tenemos el potencial. Entonces yo siempre estaba muy cómoda, alguien traducía y siempre andaba con madrina, ¿verdad? En todos lados. Entonces yo sentía que no se...
Y se perdía quizás algo en el camino.
Eso, mero. No se transmitía lo que yo quería decir en la traducción porque yo sí entendía lo que estaban diciendo en la traducción. Pero yo decía, pero yo no dije eso. Pero yo no lo podía decir. O sea, me daba pena. El momento de hablarlo no hallaba cómo poner todas las palabras juntas. Entonces me propuse y me puse a estudiar a mi ritmo, ¿verdad? Con libros y todo y con los compradores a decirles de que yo no hablaba un inglés perfecto, pero que me ayudaran, que me corrigieran, que no me dejaran decirlo mal. O sea, si yo decía una palabra mal, que ellos me corrigieran, ¿verdad? Y la verdad que mis clientes, yo siento que yo he crecido con ellos, me han ayudado en todo eso y son retos que uno se debe poner y con sus hijos también. La educación y la parte de los idiomas es base para la comercialización del café.
Bueno, hoy justamente lo vimos, un claro ejemplo de un niño de 13 años, en octavo grado, de aquí, del occidente del país. Realmente impresionante cómo él se paró en un escenario entre 300 personas a contar su historia.
Y en inglés.
Y en inglés. Que por cierto, también lo entrevistamos y en algún momento, yo creo que él sabe la audiencia en la que está. Me dice, no, yo prefiero hacerlo en español, pero ahí lo hizo perfecto.
Lo hizo perfecto.
Claro, porque sabía que era la audiencia a la cual tenía que transmitirlo. Yo creo que eso también es importante decírselo a los hijos y las hijas de los productores. Ahí está el mundo y hay que, si no, ojalá fueran 2 idiomas. Sí. El inglés la base, más uno más.
Más uno más. Y fíjese que es tan importante el idioma como enseñarles a los hijos o a los jóvenes hijos de los productores. Yo no hablo solo de mis hijos porque a muchos hijos de productores yo los he motivado a que agarren el negocio de sus padres y fíjese que a veces me dicen algunas personas, no, porque pierde el tiempo, ¿verdad? Porque eso no trae dinero. Y yo digo, hay cosas que a uno las hace por dinero, hay cosas que las hace por satisfacción personal. Entonces, si hay algo que a uno lo llena de orgullo y de ganas de seguir trabajando, es un elogio de un productor, ¿verdad?
Su producto es sumamente importante, usted lo decía, y yo lo creo también, el café hay negocio en todos lados. En todos lados. Y si de repente no se tiene en ese momento, bueno, hay que establecerse esa meta que para dentro de 3 años o 4 años, en lo que dure la cosecha, la siguiente cosecha, pues voy a trabajar y voy a aprender para poder llegar al café que deseo, el de 85 o 86. Mientras agarro escuela, como dice usted, con ese otro café.
Correcto.
Que es convencional, que también tiene mercado.
Muy bien. Sí, lo que les decía es no ser copiar, pegar, ¿verdad? O sea, eso es lo que los hondureños debemos de tratar de evitar, o sea, ser auténticos, de desarrollar nuestra propia marca, nuestro propio sello, ¿verdad? Como les digo, así como a mí me conocen como Delmico Café LOL, es un sello que yo misma me creé y ahora puedo hacer un montón de cosas y otros me conocen por la Alianza de Mujeres en Café y me estaban presentando como la primer presidenta. No, yo no fui la primer presidenta, les digo yo, es como lo que uno se va creando, así se puede hacer en café también, ¿verdad? ¿Qué me identifica a mí en mi finca, verdad? Si no tengo la mejor taza.
Y algo seguramente va a ver porque hay una historia también en la finca. Justamente teníamos otra entrevista donde nos decía justamente lo que usted estaba mencionando, que es importante no solo el número que aparece en la taza, pero también qué más hay en ese café. Así que, pues para nuestras socias, esperamos que a partir de este momento, si tienen esa dudas sobre qué hacer en la exportación, cuáles son esos pasos, pues bueno, está el comité de comercialización, pueden acercarse a Delmi. Igual para las mujeres en Centroamérica me ha pasado, Delmi, que nos han escuchado en otros lados y dice, ¿cómo hago para ser parte de la alianza? Primero hay que buscar en el país y bueno, y si no, igual las recibimos acá en la Alianza de Mujeres en Café de Honduras para poder compartir experiencias. Así que desde Cafeína Catracha Podcast, le agradecemos, Delmi, el tiempo que nos ha dedicado y bueno, estaremos en un futuro programa también presentando más acerca de la alianza. Muchas gracias, Delmi.
Gracias a ustedes.
We are here in Copan Ruinas, and this is the set for Let's Talk Coffee 2023. And I'm very happy to present you to Mark Inman, which is the Director of Growth of Sustainable Harvest.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Mark. And tell us about what it means to be the Director of Growth.
Well, the Director of Growth at Sustainable Harvest explores business opportunities to expand our reach in coffee, or new products or new areas for us to go into when it comes to certification or new certifications to the market.
And I know that you have a lot of experience being director
Yes.
of many fields.
Yes, many fields. I was the president of the Specialty Coffee Association in 2009, the president of the World Barista Championship, the president of the Roasters Guild, and I was a director of IWCA back in 2015 to 2017.
So with all this experience, I'm sure that you have worked with many women as
Yes.
well. Which is your perspective of the work of women in the coffee field?
Well, I mean, when I was a roaster, I purchased coffee specifically from women, or tried to focus my purchasing from women groups only, because I tended to think that they focused more on they had to farm to make it. They didn't have a second choice. A lot of the men in the same regions had been farming for generations, and they can get very lackadaisical and very used to just not having to work that hard. The women that got into farming had to do it because either they lost their husband, or they had, their spouse left to go work in another country, and they really had to survive. And that effort showed in the quality of their product.
And right now we have kind of the same problem in some producing countries with the migration, which is an important issue that is an actual problem for us here.
Yes.
So how do you think that women in that position, with a leadership role
Right.
to comply, how do you think that they can show the market that they're growing good coffee? What would be the message for the women to send to the market? How they can market their coffee?
Sure. I think it's important to create materials, promotional materials as to who the group is, the kind of work that they're doing, maybe the support that they've had to create that group, creating an online presence. So creating an actual Instagram page for that group to create a global awareness of the efforts. And then networking with groups like the IWCA that could put you in touch with women's groups in other countries to learn from the successes and failures that they've had to do it better. I think as far as interest, importers, roasters, consumers are very interested in supporting these types of efforts. It's easy to get the people to buy the product. They just have to become aware of who you are. And I think social media is the strongest, probably the easiest way to get there. Things like this podcast would be one of those ways, for example.
And Mark, another issue that I think that we are facing right now is that as women are taking space in so many other businesses, sometimes we tend to think that we are like two separate groups, males or females.
Right.
But I think that the best way to be in the market is through collaboration between men and women.
Sure.
And what is your experience in your work as director of so many things? What is your experience working with women?
Oh, it's been absolutely positive for starters. Again, they're not mutually exclusive groups. No matter what, they need to collaborate anyways. If you're a women's cooperative or a women's mill, you may deal with exporters that are both men and women, or just men. You may deal with importers that are predominantly men, but that doesn't mean that their level of interest in you is any different, or that their level of support is going to be less than a pure women import company or a pure women roasting company. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, if you can find, women cooperative, women mill, women roaster, that would be ideal. And that network does exist, but there's a larger audience there for the products than just women's groups. Men have no reason to feel that that women forming co-ops is a threat to their livelihood. They have every right to form groups, and there's a strength in those and women getting together and helping each other out. Sometimes, what works for women doesn't work for men. So in groups that are larger, mixed men and women, the messaging can be very male-centric sometimes and not really be beneficial to women. So, and men understand that at this point. In many aspects of life, men look at things very differently than women, and sometimes their advice to women isn't very good because it's not relevant to their life or what interests them.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have learned a lot from you, Mark, and thank you so much.
It's my pleasure
for this interview. And we will see you around in the next chapter. Thank you so much.
Thanks to our guests for sharing their amazing insights with our audience. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platforms. Also, stay connected with us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube by following Cafeína Catracha HN. We love to hear from you. For more information about IWCA Honduras, kindly visit mujeresencafehn.org.
And today we learn about marketing, strategies, leadership, and education, especially Orieta Lucia, about learning English. You're right, Carla. English has been an important tool for me during work because I have been able to create new coffee markets thanks to the language. Oh, Carla, I think we're out of time. Yes, we ran out of time, Orieta Lucia. Well, I guess that's everything from this episode. Thank you very much for listening to us and supporting. Until next week.
Cafeína Catracha podcast is an original idea and executive production created by Suyapa Franco and Marta Campos.